On Albert Einstein, the man behind the mind-blowing science. So that's what we're doing today.
It's really a fascinating journey. We often picture him as this solitary genius, but Einstein was deeply engaged with the world around him.
Right, the social and political currents of his time, they were very much a part of his story.
Absolutely.
And speaking of stories, his early life, well, it wasn't quite the prodigy tale you might expect.
That's right.
We were digging into some excerpts from his Wikipedia page.
Right.
And it turns out young Albert, he didn't exactly thrive in that traditional, rigid school setting.
Yeah, it does make you wonder because, he even said himself that rote learning stifled creativity. And, that whole idea that imagination was just as crucial as knowledge, well, that ended up being a driving force throughout his scientific career.
It's true. He really championed intuition and letting your mind wander, but come on, the guy clearly had a knack for physics and math from a young age. I mean, writing an entire essay on the ether at 16, that's not your average teenager.
No, not at all. It speaks to an innate curiosity, wouldn't you say? But even with that natural talent, his path wasn't without its bumps. Remember that famous entrance exam for the Zurich Polytechnic?
Oh yeah, the one he supposedly bombed?
Yeah.
What a twist. You'd think a future physics revolutionary would ace that without breaking a sweat.
Well, he actually aced the physics and math sections.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which is
Ironic.
very ironic considering. But it was the general knowledge portion that tripped him up.
So even Einstein had to deal with standardized tests.
It's true.
Makes you feel a bit better about that history exam you might have flunked.
Right.
But it also shows you that even geniuses, they don't always follow a straight path. It wasn't a direct line from school desk to groundbreaking theories. He had to find his own way.
Exactly. And part of that journey involved navigating the complexities of life, love in particular. Einstein's personal life was, let's just say it wasn't exactly as simple as EMC apart.
Definitely not as straightforward as his equations. We get a glimpse of that complexity in his letters. He writes about his first love, Marie Wintler, with such heartfelt longing. There's this one quote where he talks about the power of heartfelt love written right before his son's birth.
It's poignant, isn't it? The joy of a new life alongside this lingering sense of what might have been.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, they were his marriages. First, to Mileva marriage, their story is still shrouded in some mystery, especially surrounding their daughter, Lieserl,
Right.
and later his marriage to Elsa Lowenthal. Plus, there were other romantic relationships along the way.
There were. And it just goes to show that even the greatest minds are touched by the complexities of love and relationships.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to see how these personal experiences might have shaped his worldview. But let's shift gears a bit, because for a good chunk of his life, while he's grappling with love and fatherhood, he's also quietly revolutionizing physics, all while working as a patent clerk.
I know, it seems almost impossible, doesn't it? Imagine, going to work, examining patents, and then in your spare time, you're coming up with ideas that would reshape our understanding of the universe.
It's mind-blowing. From 1902 to 1909, that was Einstein's reality at the Swiss Patent Office. It makes you wonder if staring at blueprints all day somehow sparked those breakthroughs.
Right.
Maybe those mundane inventions somehow led to those extraordinary theories.
Perhaps. It's certainly a testament to how profound thinking can happen in the most unexpected places. It wasn't the hallowed halls of a prestigious university that fostered this revolution, but the quiet of his own mind amidst the humdrum of everyday life.
And what's even more amazing is that during those years, he published his Annus Mirabilis papers, his miracle year, 4 groundbreaking works that set the stage for his later triumphs, all while clocking in at the patent office.
It really does challenge our assumptions about where and when groundbreaking work happens. It could be happening anywhere, even as we speak. Perhaps you're sitting on a scientific breakthrough right now.
Okay, maybe not me personally. But you've got to admit, it's an inspiring thought. Einstein's story reminds us that brilliance can emerge in the most unexpected ways and places.
Absolutely.
It really makes you wonder, what was going on in that mind of his? I mean, we're talking about a time when the very existence of atoms was still being debated.
Right.
And here's Einstein quietly proving it with his work on Brownian motion.
Yes.
That seemingly random movement of particles in a fluid.
Yes, you can actually see it if you watch
Whoa.
dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. Einstein showed that those tiny, jiggling movements were actually evidence of invisible atoms colliding with the dust particles.
So while everyone else was just seeing dust, he was seeing proof of the building blocks of matter.
Amazing, isn't it?
Incredible. Okay, but let's fast forward a bit, okay? We're on this journey through Einstein's life, And things are about to get really interesting in 1919.
Ah, yes, 1919, the year of the eclipse that would catapult him to global fame.
Can you imagine? The world holding its breath, waiting to see if this theory of general relativity, would hold up. It's not every day that a scientific theory becomes a global event.
It's true. You see, general relativity predicted that the sun's gravity would warp the fabric of space-time itself, bending the path of light from distant stars.
Right.
And the only way to test that prediction was during a total solar eclipse.
So everyone's looking up at the sky, the world goes dark,
Yeah.
and what happens?
Eddington's observations during the eclipse confirmed it.
Ah.
Newspapers were filled with headlines about this monumental discovery, even declaring that Newtonian ideas were overthrown.
Talk about a paradigm shift.
I know. Einstein went from this relatively unknown physicist to a global icon, a symbol of genius, practically overnight. But here's the thing. He wasn't content to just rest on his laurels.
Right. He used his newfound platform to speak out about the things he cared about.
Exactly.
He wasn't afraid to engage with the world beyond the laboratory.
Exactly. His involvement with the League of Nations, his advocacy for a world government, his unwavering stance against nationalism and militarism, it all points to this profound belief in a more just and peaceful world.
Yeah, he seemed to understand that scientific progress without ethical considerations could lead down a dangerous path. And sadly, his own experiences with anti-Semitism, being forced to flee Nazi Germany, it all speaks to the very real dangers of unchecked hatred and prejudice.
And there's that heartbreaking quote where he reflects on the degree of their brutality and cowardice, referring to the Nazi regime. You can just hear the disillusionment in his voice.
It's a stark reminder that even the brightest minds are not immune to the forces of hatred and intolerance. But it also highlights the importance of using your voice, of speaking out against injustice, no matter how difficult it might be.
And even with his unwavering moral convictions, he never claimed to have all the answers. He knew that science was a process, a constant journey of exploration, and yes, even making mistakes.